Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce Rita Mazalevskis.
Good morning.
Morning.
Can I just say it's very refreshing to be able to come to an AGM on the premises of a company and not at a big external venue. So thank you for that. Makes you feel part of the business. I don't think that's true. Okay.
No, it is very intimate, so thank you.
I'm a customer. I'm also a shareholder. I'm part of a group called Bank Warriors who advocate for bank victims across Australia. We all came together through our own causes. And unfortunately, I am an aggrieved customer of Perpetual. I've come here from Perth, so I've come a long way. I did reach out to the board on Monday. I sent an email and Rob replied. So I'm hoping I can get some time today to meet with you. I know it's short notice, but I had short notice in coming here. So otherwise I would have given more notice, and it's a long way to have to come back for a meeting. So I'd appreciate if you can consider that today. Just in regards to the Chair's comment that Perpetual is a company of high integrity and honesty with a disciplined approach, I'd just like to touch on governance and risk issues.
These relate to you or to the company? Or?
To the company.
So are you going to talk further about your grievance?
No.
Or you just want us to
No, I'd like to do that later if I can have a meeting.
Out of the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. So no, because I think just to put that in context, we did receive your email that you had some serious allegations.
Yeah.
And I passed that to Rob, and he's been in touch with you.
Yeah.
And as of today, we don't have that information.
No, because I was travelling.
But also we don't within our own records, so we're a bit in the dark.
Yes, and that's very concerning.
And that's,
very concerning.
Well, concerns us. So I think Rob will organise to meet with you, and we go from there.
All right.
So because we don't like having those allegations, and then we don't see them through.
Yeah. And I really, really think that it's fantastic that you talk openly in front of the shareholders, because this does impact them ultimately if these kind of issues aren't addressed. So thank you for that. Okay. I'm not a sophisticated investor. I had loans. But in regards to your annual report under the board risk appetite statement on 1.4.2 to be exact, it outlines the risk boundaries and minimum expectations of Perpetual management, and the board's Audit, Risk and Compliance Committee is responsible for overseeing Perpetual's risk management process. Further down, it talks about risk management framework, and you advise that this is underpinned by the 3 lines of defence model. Under the key business risks, under risk category, it says there's a heading, compliance, legal and conduct, and that manifestation of behaviours and practices, in brackets conduct, that are considered unethical or unacceptable, including actions that compromise the best interest of Perpetual's clients and the integrity of the marketplace. It also states, under operational, the risk of loss resulting from inadequate or failed internal processes, people and systems, or from external events. This includes, but is not limited to, process, fraud, and business continuity risks. So, in regards to your annual report, you also talk about transparency and that there is increasing focus on disclosure and reporting standards, which is fantastic. What I'd like to know, my question is, do the board get reports or advice on unconscionable conduct or breaches in relation to Perpetual products through customers? And if you do, how and how frequently? And how many would you have had in the last 12 months?
I think you've covered quite a range. The risk framework, metrics, and the work that we do in managing risk, managing reputation is extensive, and it works through the risk framework, the risk appetite statement, and through our audit and risk committee. We also review complaints that may be received, and we get regular reports. We also look for systemic issues. We clearly look for, as a board, anything to do with integrity, whether the allegations as distinct from actual fraud or misconduct or issues of integrity. Our reputation wouldn't be what it is if we didn't have a very robust system of dealing with that. So at the board level and at the audit and risk committee level and at the senior executive level and throughout the organisation, there's a very strong culture of fess up if you get into a problem and let's work it through, because as an organisation we're not into blame, we're into resolving issues for the benefit of our clients. Now, inevitably there will be issues. We've heard a few issues today that people have raised. We have undertaken, and we've undertaken in relation to your issue, to look at it as well. We will do that as a board.
Thank you.
The thing we need to also bear in mind is we are a board. For us, it's about systemic and issues that are more significant, but we do have controls in place to be comfortable that the organisation lives up to what we say. So I accept you say it's all very well to have it in a report, but what happens? But I assure you we're very conscious that we live up to what we say, and we encourage people fessing up if they get into a difficulty.
That's excellent. Just one more question. Would you be able to tell me what the formal process is for someone that has a grievance with Perpetual?
I think just talking it can be, clearly initially that would be through the people you're working with. It could be through...
What about externally? Like one of the customers, shareholders, if someone had a grievance, how would they report that through Perpetual?
Well,
who's the contact?
Oh, I see.
Formal contact.
There's a formal complaints mechanism. Sorry, Rob, please.
In fact, Sam might be worthwhile.
Oh, sorry.
You stepping up, Sam Moss, our Chief Risk Officer. But yeah, we have a complaints management framework.
Yeah, it'd just be nice to understand, because the banks have customer advocates.
Typically, I'll hand it to Sam in a minute, but typically if an investor in a Perpetual product or somebody who's in receipt of a Perpetual service will have a contact point, and that would typically be their first point of any complaint. Sometimes people will send a letter directly to myself. I think in your case you sent an email through to me and the board directly as the first port of contact, and then we'll respond accordingly. But we have a complaints management framework to then manage those complaints in. Thanks, Sam.
That's right. So we have an internal complaints framework and complaints officers, and then we have the external complaint framework as well, which is we're a member of AFCA. So if a client is to complain, then that would be forwarded to the complaints officers who sit in my team, and it becomes part of the formal complaints framework and handling process. And then there is a reporting mechanism up to the board, to the audit and risk committee, as well as to the main board. So they have direct oversight of all of that, as we do as a management team on Exco.
Thank you. So in regards to internal reporting, so if someone, an internal process, do you have on your website advice of who someone externally can contact within Perpetual in relation to that?
Yes, that's right. So the details for the external dispute resolution handling process are on there, and they're also included in all of our product disclosure statements as well for the investors.
Okay, all right. Only reason I ask is, which we'll talk about later, I think there's been a disconnect in my whole matter. So I just wanted to understand the formal process.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.